Welcome to day one of our Golden Chain Highway road trip. I think this is either video 2 or 3 in the series, but this is our first real day on our trip. We are now in front of Sutter's Fort, which is really hard because it's super white and I'm in the shade to get a good shot of, but I'm going to show you inside. Matt and my parents are over there and we are about to head in to learn about Sutter's Fort, which is kind of the genesis of the gold rush. It was his staff that found Sutter's Fort, and so we're just going to start here and then launch into our trip. So follow us along if you want to join us and learn about the California Gold Rush, as well as this part of California that's not as well known as some of the more populous destinations and like touristy areas. I'm really excited about taking you guys along. So let's start with Sutter's Fort and then we will move on to the rest of our day here in Sacramento before we head up to the foothills on following days in our trip.
And then we cross America.
My entire life, I literally thought that the fort was like a military fort, like all the other forts along the Oregon and California trails. But no, he just basically wanted to be like Lord of the Manor and made himself like a European castle, but like in an American fort style.
It's really like a trader's outpost that basically ends the California Trail, more or less. I mean, I think there were some offshoots that went to San Francisco instead of Sacramento, and a few other areas in California like Monterey. But it was really just a trader's outpost that he put really big walls and cannons on.
And then named it a fort.
I know the
Say the one
skunk.
in the middle is the beaver.
Beaver, you got the beaver.
We got this is
That's
skunk.
the skunk.
Got like a coyote or some kind of dog animal?
So that one is a badger.
Oh,
The
okay.
one to the right of that between the skunk
Yeah,
and the
this
badger.
Oh,
Any
that's the
guesses?
badger.
So the left one is a badger, yeah.
and this one is it some
Weasel.
kind of dog-ish animal?
It's an old raccoon. It's kind
Really
of
old raccoon.
lightened up
And that's a river otter.
river otter.
Bobcat?
Is that a coyote?
That's the coyote.
There's the coyote.
So a couple of the most important ones here at the fort during the time. The beaver and the river otter fur were selling back in Europe for a good amount of money. So trappers would come out to North America where there were, well, what we know is today North America, to come and trap these animals and send them back. So these beavers were used for top hats often. It was kind of a sign of class and wealth. River otter furs on the cuffs and the collars, and those both were a way to show off how much money you had. So if you take a look, you can see why beaver fur is so well or so strongly desired. So in between there you have what are called just like the down layer of fur, and then on the outside the guard hairs. So the guard hairs are what keeps the animal waterproof, and the inside layer, just like an insulated jacket, if you guys have any of those,
Yep.
that's what keeps you warm. So for a beaver swimming around in the middle of winter, because they don't hibernate, they have those 2 extra layers to keep them warm. And so part of the reason they were so strongly desired is people would actually pluck off the guard hairs and just use that really nice fur on the inside for hats and different things. River otters, also pretty common to see out here, and one of the animals Sutter sent trappers out to get as well. The beaver could sell anywhere from 50 cents to $3. I'm not exactly sure how much the river otter sold for. But another important animal here at the fort especially is Sutter had, at one point he had over 10,000 cows out on all of his land. So coyotes were a problem for the young ones. So he put out a bounty on coyotes. And so as you make your way around, there's a trade store over there and you'll see coyote pelts hanging in the trade store. So you bring them a coyote pelt, you get $5 credit at the store.
So we actually took a really interesting tour of Old Sacramento, put on by the Visitors Bureau.
It was actually put on by the Sacramento History Museum, which is on the northern end of Old Sacramento, next to the Railroad Museum, which we didn't go to today, but I highly recommend. But we met in the Old Sacramento Visitor Center.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I bought those tickets, so Matt didn't know until just now that information.
But we had a pretty good docent, and he actually made things interesting. Each of the people on the tour is given a fan with one of the kind of key players from the Gold Rush time in Sacramento, who comes up in the story as they take you on a tour of the town.
Yes.
And there's some games and some wagers that you make along the way to keep things interesting and keep everybody engaged.
The tour was called Gold Fever, the Game.
So they created the Wells Fargo and Company. So when they combined their businesses, not only did they open the bank, but they also transported the mail between here and back east until the post office could get out here. And they were also monopoly transporter of gold between here and back east as well, which is probably why they got robbed every other week. The gold was insured, but it was still costing them a lot of money for the robberies. So what they did was they would actually hire some people to sit next to the drivers of their stagecoaches holding a shotgun. And that person then was responsible to protect everyone and everything on that stagecoach. Wells Fargo is where we get the term riding shotgun.